Hi guys, this is a quick review of the movie Disclosure Day. Well, I'm intending for it to be quick, but let's see how it goes. My name is Gosia, this is Cosmic Agency. Well, I did go to see the movie, yes. People were saying that there is just some kind of subliminal messaging there, or Christian people were saying that there are demons attached to the movie, so it's better not to go. There is some messaging there in the clicking sounds. Well, I went anyway. I didn't feel anything. Of course, if it's a programming, I wouldn't feel that, right? But anyway, I'm not really afraid of that kind of stuff and that kind of those kinds of ideas. Maybe I'm naive, whatever. I needed to see the movie. I wanted to see what they put out there for the people. Now, before I go into the short review, fun fact. Last year, in my Space Academy Sector Earth channel, which I invite you to watch because I'm covering all these different cosmic and stellar topics from the beginning in a fun format, I had a video episode on the topic of Matrix. And in that video, I wore a red dress. And not just a red dress. It was very similar to the dress that the main character is wearing in the movie. And also the way she's like talking and presenting. It was like exactly the same pose. And I made that episode before I saw clips and trailers from the movie. So it's just a fun coincidence, fun fact on the side. Anyway, people are saying that the movie is horrible. Other people like the movie. It seems like everybody's watching a different movie. What's going on? And I must say, it wasn't as bad as I thought. I actually kind of enjoyed it. Was it a great movie? No. I'm going to go into that a bit later. But it was okay. It was enjoyable. I thought there's going to be too much action going on in the movie because I am not a fan of fast speed car chases and explosions and just pure action. And I thought from some reviews that that's how it's going to be. And it wasn't that much of action. Like, it wasn't an overwhelming amount of action. There was other stuff going on there as well. So it was okay. I think everybody has expected something different from the movie. And of course, it's going to be seen differently through the eyes of someone who is just waiting for some kind of disclosure, or, someone who knows a lot about the ET stuff. And then, it's every person is a world, and they're going to see everything, art, because movies, that's what they are. Also, apart from other things, they are artistic expression of creators. So everybody is going to see and interpret something else there. Of course, obviously, I'm not going to go into this even, but obviously this was a coordinated act. Why did the movie come out exactly as the third batch of UFO files was coming out, and why, this whole supposed disclosure, it's not a disclosure yet, it's just revealing some files. So when all this is happening in the governments, why is this movie coming out? So I don't know how exactly is it coordinated and by who. Some people are saying this is done by the White Hats, supposedly. Then, it could be done by other groups. We don't really know. Also, sometimes the musicians, scientists, artists, creators, movie directors are influenced telepathically. Also influenced telepathically and guided to do something, or they are guided with certain ideas. So it could be that some even groups of ETs on either side could also be guiding here Steven Spielberg's in this decision to make this movie now and, create this atmosphere even more suspenseful, create even more suspense these days. Was this movie disclosing anything? Obviously, not much. I was going to say not really, but, if you look at it, there's topics of abductions, there's a topic of government cover-ups, secret technologies, ETs, and other layered information. So some of it for newcomers, something is being revealed there, but I would say that it is a rather missed opportunity to say much more. Much more could be could have been said in a movie. Of course, for people like us, much more depth could have been given to the threats that were kind of shyly hinted at here and there. But of course, this is a movie, this is a Hollywood production. They had to keep it that way. I paid attention to the word extraterrestrial if it was mentioned. Actually, it was mentioned only once. The word extraterrestrial was mentioned only once. So no, not much information is given there, especially for people like us. The movie doesn't go into interpretation of things either, really. But, like I said, it does mention the topic of abductions. Of course, here you're going to argue, it wasn't a well-presented thread there or not. I would say to some point it is, but the topic of abductions, that's a separate topic, and it is a vast array of situations going on there, so I'm not going to go into that. And it's good that the public has been kind of sort of alerted, even in a Hollywood manner, to the government cover-ups. Because that is one of the major issue here. The lies, deceptions that we are dealing with, secret technologies. But I also feel that some people who are watching this, especially who are new to the topic, are going to view this perhaps in a fantastical sci-fi manner. And especially, why am I saying this? Not because of the alien aspect, but because some of these secret government technologies seem a bit fantastical for the normal person. So like, for example, invisibility, that the whole group was made invisible, and then the guy projecting his presence, even though that exists, but I'm talking about the norm here, the majority of people projecting himself and talking and manipulating remotely that girl in front of him at the table in the kitchen when they were talking. So because of these very, very hard to believe by the normal people aspects were introduced as well, well, then the whole movie is kind of shifting into this sci-fi realm of things for the normal people. So I'm not sure how seriously they would take the whole topic of the extraterrestrials. I think they might. Again, it's individual here. By the way, these technologies do exist. Even the aspect of the main character played by Emily Blunt, of course, the fact that she was a vessel, and the guy David, I think was his name in the movie. Was it? I'm not good with names. The fact that they were both vessels for that ET, for those ETs. Well, that actually also exists. And I'm not just talking about the immersion technologies that we know that technologically the ET people can hook up, plug into the organic avatar on Earth and operate through that person, whether real or not. But they can also do that sporadically. So they can use the immersion technology to hook up and tune into the person, impulses, for example, and operate through that person, maybe inspire ideas, but even more than inspire ideas, operate through that person. And that is done negatively, regressively by the regressive ETs. So that technology is being used for the good, for the benefits of the situation by the positive races, and then it is used negatively by the regressive races. So that's interesting. It was sneaked in there, and those technologies. But I think the whole movie, rather than about the disclosure itself and about the ETs themselves, it was like more focused on the characters and all those people, on their powers. The greatest suspense, I feel, was built around them, about what is happening to them, about their powers. So yeah, there was suspense in the movie, but I feel like it was the disclosure topic was kind of on the side, and it was just coming and going, weaving itself into the movie. But I didn't feel like the attention was drawn to that specifically or enough, or how we would like. So I felt this was mainly about them, about the characters, and about their powers and what it means. So it's a bit of a shy attempt, I would think, to disclose more. But I do believe whoever is orchestrating this was their way to leak some of the truths, and not only through the movie, I would say, but through the Spielberg's interviews also, because there are a lot of interviews with him online. He has done a lot of public appearances, interviews by the main media. And they're asking him there, do you really think that? Or what do you think? Or this and that? What is your stance? And then he explains why he takes this topic seriously. So I think also not through the movie, but what happens around the movie, around the attention and the approach to the topic given by the Spielberg, by the actors in their interview. This was the whole orchestrated event here. Okay, the way also the movie entangled the religious aspect, of course, it had to. It was kind of interesting. Not much was going on there, but enough to kind of trigger some kind of curiosity, perhaps by the mainstream people. And I liked the fact that in the end it was suggested by the nun that it doesn't necessarily clash here. The disclosure of an ET existence, the ET life, doesn't clash with the religions, even though some Christians were saying that, this movie is whatever, they are telling us that the aliens are our saviors, and that's the deception because the only savior can be Jesus Christ. No, the movie, from my perspective, never mentions that, or never says that, or never draws attention to that they are our saviors or anything like that. And the nun herself at the end says that, the God created us as... I don't want to mention these quotes because I don't agree with these Christian ideas, but whatever, that the God created these supreme beings as humans, but on Earth. And there is other life out there. So in the way she was smirking and smiling when at the end the revelations were coming out. So she was like glad it was coming out. So whatever. What I didn't like is that the main character's girlfriend, when she finally found out what the secret was that he was holding, she said, well, how dare you reveal this to the public? Perhaps it's not your place to tell them that there are supreme beings, that we have been taught that only God can be is a superior supreme being, and now you are telling them there are others. There are other supreme beings, but this is a mistake. No one says they are supreme. This is a mistake that some people will commit, I think, when interpreting these ET revelations. They are, which is something we always say, they are not superior beings or supreme beings. They are just technologically more advanced, more oriented, and knowledgeable about certain things, but in no way they are supreme beings. No one says that. So in that sense, I would say it doesn't endanger or threat the religions, because the religions, in that sense, that spiritual connection with the divine, with the creator, that movie is, or the ET subject is not taking that away. In fact, the ET people themselves are highly spiritual and metaphysical and mystical, and they do have the concept of source. So anyway, I didn't really see the gray agenda there, or not much. I know some people are saying that there is a horrendous gray agenda and adjusting us to perceive grace as positive, benevolent beings when we know they are not. However, I did not see it that much in the movie, really. And also we have to remember there are different kinds of grace. So not all grace are negative. Yes, the main species of grace that here we have in our culture are these little grays, maybe doing abductions there. And those grays are the, what we call them, the gardeners. They are coming from the Zeta Reticuli, and they are benign and positive. Yes, their methods may not seem so sometimes when they perform the abductions, but they are doing this to maintain the DNA of the person involved, repair it. This is the EBE-1 creature, a gray alien that was captured and held in captivity in Roswell. We were told that this is one of those specimens, the Zeta Reticuli. And they preserve DNA of all living creatures on Earth. That's one of their tasks. And they intervene wherever there is a danger or threat to a DNA of a person, repairing it with their genetic technology. And they do that on board their ships. And that's why they are taking people from Earth to perform these operations, and then they return the person back. And they also see different planets. They are employed, so to speak, by the Federation. But this is the most common subdivision of grays that is in our lore, I would say. And that's why I think Spielberg is using those, because they are the most popular one in our culture. And those are not negative, those little ones. And then there is another variant of the gray aliens who look exactly like Zeta Reticuli. That's why the subject gets confusing. They are biological robots, have no soul. And they are also similar types to Zeta Reticuli, smaller and longer, who work with their regressive reptilians, even with the regressive Lyrian people, with SSP and Earth military. And those are negative. Those are negative. And now the most relevant gray alien with the reptilian-based DNA, as we were told, are so-called tall grays, are also known as Maitre. And yeah, at the end of the movie, that gray was tall, but he looked different. His head was different. His face was different than Maitre. By the way, Maitre, the meaning of the word means master. So they consider themselves to be master gray alien race, and they also consider themselves to be masters of the Earth. So this species is definitely evil and very bad, regressive. It was developed by regressive Draco-reptilian geneticists who were looking to make a slave race to do basically their dirty operations. And it is said that the Maitre then, after they were created, rebelled against the Dracos, killing countless of those, and became a sort of an independent species. Now, and the last race that we were told is a very important gray species and dangerous. And, well, in the beginning, it was thought they were positive because they are actually part of the Federation. They are a big-nosed grays. They also look different, called a Torten, and they are very tall, 6 to 8 foot tall gray alien race. And in the beginning, we were told, well, they are officially positive, but then it was discovered they're actually scheming and doing all kinds of strange things behind the back, and they are not a nice bunch, as according to the last information that we had. So now all these mentioned grays, they look different from what we were told from the one portrayed in the movie. Now, for the larger public, gray is a gray. It may not recognize the difference, no? Kind of like, I'm sorry now to the Asian people, sometimes we don't know that Chinese or Japanese look similar. So for the larger public, I agree, this is a warming up to the gray idea as something positive, because they will not know the difference, positive and negative gray. But as we, from the inner community, know the difference, well, we do have to be fair in our assessment here and simply state that there are different types of grays. And I'm not sure if Spielberg really meant here the negative gray agenda, or he simply took the most common type of a gray that is available in our culture, known in abductions, like the little gardeners, and he used that as a prototype of the alien. And he does have a tendency to like those kinds of beings. You know, in the previous movie, it was also someone with like a big head, kind of grayish looking. So this is my take on this gray topic. Of course, it could be argued, why not use other races? Why not mention other races? Why not mention the humanoid races, feline, and all kinds of other species out there? Because if this is a disclosure day, well, let's disclose, right? However, of course, I believe he's, again, going with what is the most available to him to know, and that's the gray abductions, you know, holding of grays by the government, which is also a fact. So why not use other species? Yes, but at the same time, I think he was making a movie, like I'm saying, based on what is known in the mainstream. And also, on the side, I would say that whatever race he would use, and whatever way he would go with this movie, I think if people want to see the agenda, they are going to see the agenda. I think there would be agenda on either side. If he went that direction, that this is, you know, something to be afraid of, that we should be careful about the ETs, well, agenda, fear-based, all that, right? People would be saying that. Well, here it was more positive. So again, people are spinning it like, okay, so we are now programmed to see grace as something positive. Now, okay. Now, if he used Nordics or, you know, blonde type, well, then it could be also an agenda, because we also said that there could be a false alien contact somewhere there in the cards, and you know, or some sort of a strange faction of the Galactic Federation coming out and offering, you know, ideas, and this will be part of that new world order coming, perhaps in plans by the Cabal. So, in other words, whatever he would throw into the movie, I think there would be people who would see that as an agenda. So I think it's very difficult nowadays to make a movie for the directors and not receive criticism as, you know, agendas there. I'm not saying there aren't. I'm just saying there could be agendas. If whatever way he would make it, there would be agendas. Now, people are saying that there's a lot of focus and attention drawn to the empathy, that this was about our empathy and our empathy towards each other and towards that race of the ET beings. Well, I don't know if I sincerely felt that much focus on empathy. It was there, but I don't feel like this was the main theme of the subject. I felt more like our attention was being drawn to the empathy towards the truth itself, that, you know, the truth should come out. Should it come out? What consequences would it have? But our empathy towards wanting the truth out. We were drawn towards wanting the disclosure out. Like, this is the right thing to do. This is what I felt. And even in the end, that main bad guy, so to speak, yes, he relaxed into it when the final revelations were coming out, and he kind of stopped struggling against it, and he let it be, right? He let it just reveal itself. So I felt like we were building up to that the disclosure is the right thing to do, and that this humanity needs to know. And now, to finish off this review, let me just mention the ending. I think the movie was okay. Like I said, it wasn't bad, it wasn't great, it was okay. It was even entertaining, you know, because of also the subject. I am not sure how I would have taken it if I was not interested in the subject. I was interested, and I was looking, you know, for things in the movie, so my attention was always on. Anyway, well, it was kind of drawing away a little bit in some action scenes, but not much. The ending was, for me, the greatest part. Okay, I don't know. I don't see many of you talking about this in the reviews. I don't know if people don't want to admit it because this is a disclosure movie, this is a programming, this is nothing. I'm just not going to feel nothing. But I will admit I felt emotional at the end. I even felt teary. And I only saw one person yesterday mention this, and that was the interview with Daryl Anka, who connects with Bashar. He was doing the interview. I don't remember the channel, but both of them were saying that they felt it. They felt emotional and teary, especially when that reporter, who for me was the main star of the movie, actually, she took it away. That reporter who was finally revealing to the people what she was seeing in disclosure files, and those last words when she said, "We are not alone." This was just so emotional for me. I was like a little bit shaking inside. And that interview, Daryl Anka and his interviewer felt the same. And they were discussing, why do we feel this? Because, okay, we know that the disclosures from the official channels are not really the way, or not the way. They are not going to be truthful. There's always going to be agendas there and guiding of the narratives. But still, I couldn't help feeling emotional when small portions of the truth, but at least the existence of the ETs was being revealed to the public, and people were looking on their phones, by the way, which I think is completely unrealistic. It wouldn't happen that way. I think majority of the people, I'm not sure they would care enough to even see. But the way the reporter was speaking, and it was just so, I don't know, relieving. I felt touched. And this showed to me that I really, inside, we want this truth out, and we want everybody to know this already. And we are so happy to see when it's coming out. And this was like a prelude. I think also they did this as a sort of a market testing of the reactions, showing people how this could be, and then seeing, kind of like a training or a testing ground for that real revelation one day to come. So it was like an emotional release to connect with that moment and what it would be like. And because it's really something that we want the world to know in whatever way. I just would like this out, and I would like the world to know. And I am fully aware that it's not coming through the official sources. I mean, the truth. But we are just so longing for that acknowledgement, I think. That's why subconsciously, even without wanting, it was an emotional moment. And that's what they were talking about in that interview with Daryl Anka. I think that's his name. So, I don't know. This is just my review here. Much more could be said, but at the same time, it's not that extremely relevant anyway to spend so much time on it. Go watch it. It's okay. Like I said, people will hate it. People will love it. So you just don't know what you will feel. So do not decide go or not go just based on the reactions of other people, because everybody here will feel something different. Thank you, guys. We're going to see each other in the next video. I think now I'm going to jump to the Space Academy Sector Earth, and we're actually going to talk about the subjects. Are extraterrestrials good or bad? Because a lot of people will be wondering about, also after this movie, if they take it seriously enough. Okay, but actually, are they good or bad? Because it wasn't like really mentioned. The interpretation really wasn't given in the movie. What is, the interest of that gray? What's going on? Like nothing. So jump to Space Academy Sector Earth for more information on whether extraterrestrials are good or bad. Thank you, guys. See you next time.